What's up, guys? This is JD Rich coming back at you with another One Piece video discussion. Today, I figured we have like a quick talk, just a quick little brainstorm, you know what I'm saying? Free thought expression, free thought, whatever, about Imu. Now, with the story going where it's going in God Valley, I still believe that Imu has a major role to play in God Valley. Especially maybe with the fact that Rox is no longer of this world. So what made me think of this today is because I just was randomly thinking, like, with Imu's butterflies specifically, right? We always see Imu in a flower room with butterflies all around Imu, you know, and not the ones in our stomach. Now, check this out. There's been speculation of Imu somehow being immortal, you know? I mean, especially given the fact that Imu has been around for damn near 800 years, as it's confirmed and semi-confirmed in the story or whatever. But to be around for 800 plus years, one has got to wonder, man, what kind of entity are you? You know? Because if you played the game Cuphead, right? If you ever played Cuphead, and you've seen like the devil in Cuphead, the devil's powers, and the deal with the devil that Cuphead and his buddy signed when they were shooting them dice and whatnot. I believe Oda may have taken that same concept from Cuphead as far as the idea of the devil and put it in Imu's design in his body of art or whatever, his or her body of art, whatever. Imu is both man and woman at the same time, I guess. The gender is not really specified, but Imu is Imu. Now, if you translate Imu in Japanese, it actually translates to sea. So, the sea. Also, does Imu have a devil fruit? You know? I mean, one wouldn't think so. You would just think that Imu is just a demonic entity who has special abilities that far transcend devil fruits, you know what I'm saying, or anything past that. But I believe that Conqueror's Haki is the key to probably besting or defeating Imu, courtesy of what we saw when, you know, Emmet released that knot, that noose knot or whatever, and Joy Boy's Haki came out. Like, the fact that Joy Boy stored his Haki in Emmet, that is just insane to me as well. But we'll talk about that in another video, but still, that is insane. Like, the fact that you can store Haki like that, and then if somebody were to release it, you can affect not only the world, but like just people in general. But the way Imu was affected by that Haki, man, I cannot wait to see that animated. I cannot wait. Like, and the thing is, we're already at the episodes where the giants are approaching Egghead, but never mind all that. Now back to Imu. We're always seeing Imu stick their finger out and touch butterflies. But what do butterflies correlate with Imu? And do they have something with Imu's possible immortality? I actually believe they do. See, check it out. When you look at the life cycle of a butterfly, right? And you see that clearly a butterfly could be formerly a caterpillar. Now, with the caterpillar, you know, it crawls and whatnot, creepy crawly. Then when one day the caterpillar matures at a certain caterpillar age or whatever, it goes through its cocoon stage. It forms a cocoon, hangs upside down, and then begins the process of metamorphosis. Now, within its metamorphosis, you know, inside the cocoon, there's a change, a transformation happening. Like the caterpillar is being reborn, a different being in a way. A different insect being, as we can call it. So during that change in metamorphosis inside that cocoon, then later unraveling itself to be a butterfly, could this same concept apply to Imu? And does the perpetual youth surgery have anything to do with this as well? Because like when I see Imu and the butterflies, I just started randomly thinking like, yo, this has got to apply to some sort of life cycle of the caterpillar itself, given the fact that the caterpillar is reborn a butterfly. Like, what if Imu was something else previously 800 years ago, then got reborn or reincarnated or something along those lines, and then transformed into the way of being that Imu is today? See, We know that Emu has a beef with the Nefertari D. Lily family, and also with Nefertari D. Lily's family, that side of the D's or whatever. Because I think Ni is Nerona Emu. Nerona Emu, whatever. But 800 years ago, we know that Emu existed. And also Joy Boy was around during this time too. But also technology like Emmett was around as well. Like that type, think about that. Emmett is a giant robot, and yet Emmett was around when Joy Boy was around. Now, a lot of people suspect that Emmett was basically the Frankie of Joy Boy's crew. If Joy Boy had a crew at all. I believe Joy Boy did have a crew. I don't believe it was just Joy Boy by itself. And if Joy Boy did have a crew, what were they like, man? But also, man, with Emu and his people trying to stop Joy Boy, Emu being around for 800 years, I mean, we may as well consider him immortal at this point. But what contributed to the immortality of Emu? And also, the perpetual youth surgery, the op fruit, the previous user, like maybe before even, let's say devil fruits were invented 800 years ago. They were around, right? Who in their right mind would have the op fruit to perform a perpetual youth surgery on Emu? And whoever the person was that had the op fruit, they essentially sacrificed their own life so that Emu could basically become immortal. Now, there's so much mystery that we still have yet to figure out behind Emu. I mean, we know in recent chapters, Emu can take over people, I guess, who have a link to him, or he has possession of, like mental dominion of. Like I said in Cuphead, like whatever covenant that was sealed, like the God's Knights, for example, they have sealed a sacred covenant with Emu. We can safely assure that they've taken some type of agreement with Emu to become who they are and as powerful as they are. So essentially you could say that they made a deal with the devil, you know, and they have to fulfill the devil's contract. Now, and there's no particular way out of that contract unless you somehow outsmart or outwit the devil. And Emu, we could essentially say that Emu is the devil himself, or devil incarnate, reincarnate, I don't know. But it's all speculation. So, speculation, not speculation at the same time. I know I'm probably doing a terrible job explaining this, but I'm trying. Now, Emu and the butterflies, man, like I said, with the butterfly life cycle, you know, you go into cocoon from a caterpillar, you go in that cocoon, you begin your metamorphosis, then you're reincarnated as a butterfly. This same process could basically be applied to Emu. I'm not saying Emu is like a butterfly or a caterpillar or anything, but Emu went through some sort of stage where they essentially shed their old form and partook in, you know, gradually becoming something new. And as far as something new goes, it could have something to do with the perpetual youth surgery. Is Emu's body really Emu's body, you know? Or is that just a shell of what's hiding the inner demon inside that Emu really is? Because I don't believe that the Emu we see walking around with the cloak and all that, touching butterflies all beautiful, that's like merely a shell. Because as we saw when Emu attacked Sabo, they used a devil tail. That was a tail. That was a tail. And then we see when Emu is taking over Gunko, Emu essentially has wings and a devil tail and a trident, right? Some sort of like pitchfork trident. So we could, like I said, we could safely assume that Emu is the devil, but what contributed to Emu's rise to power? And because I know we have to know for a fact that perpetual youth surgery is involved. As Law mentioned, it takes the user's own life during the surgery, but it grants somebody the ability of possibly being immortal. So for Emu to be immortal, how do you defeat an immortal in this universe? Now, we could easily say Conqueror's Haki, yes, because given Joy Boy's Conqueror's Haki, with Joy Boy not around, still affecting Emu today, you know, that's essentially one answer, but there's more to it than that. And I don't think Emu, like I said, and I'm saying this because I've heard others say this, and I'm going to say it too, maybe Luffy will not face Emu alone. Like, that final war, it may consist of like a triple threat between Luffy, Blackbeard, and Emu. And the government as well. Fatal four-way. So it's going to be the government, as far as like the Marine faction. Then you got Blackbeard, Luffy, and then Emu and the rest of whatever world government officials that will follow underneath that. Because, man, this end game is getting so sick. This end game is like everything's on the line. Everything. This is all the more reason not only Luffy has to become king of the pirates, but Luffy essentially has to save the world in general. Like, the responsibility of saving the world has literally fallen on the Straw Hats and those who ally with them. Now, Emu. I know I keep going back and forth, man, but Emu, man, what is the deal behind Emu being the devil, but also were devil fruits in general around 800 years ago? And who or what, is responsible for Emu's immortality? Outside of the perpetual youth surgery, which would be the obvious answer, but you gotta think, man, who were the previous users of certain fruits? And if devil fruits were around 800 years ago, who used their fruit to basically make Emu immortal? And did this take place before or after the battle with Joy Boy? Because my guess is after Emu's battle with Joy Boy, maybe Emu was so damaged that Emu was forced to undergo the perpetual youth surgery because they needed a new form or a new body or something like that. But Emu's obsession with butterflies, that to me implies some form of reincarnation, some form of alternative life where you got reborn as something, you went through some sort of mythical phase of metamorphosis, and you came out as you are. But prior to that, you may have been damaged or undamaged, but you still went through some type of transformation to be who you are today. And if Emu is still alive from 800 years ago, could there be other people still alive from 800 years ago? Maybe not. Maybe Emu is the only one from that era who's still around today because of the cheat code of the Op fruit. So, also, the fact that Emu has like a grudge against the D family, and Trafalgar Law, the current user of the Op fruit, is a D. Like, come on, man. And then you got Blackbeard wanting Trafalgar Law's fruit. Blackbeard essentially not only wants Law's poneglyphs, but he wants his fruit too. Luckily, Law escaped. Law did escape with Beppo. But if I'm Blackbeard, and you got the Op fruit, right? And I'm coming for it. What would I want it for? Does Blackbeard want to be immortal? Or is it like or is it just a part of a means to an end of a bigger goal? To make someone else immortal, or give immortality to something else, an entity or some sort, or just use the fruit for whatever it is that it can be used for outside of granting immortality that may give Blackbeard an advantage for his goals. Because we know, essentially, Blackbeard wants to turn the whole world dark. He wants to I don't think Blackbeard cares about being the king of the pirate. I think Blackbeard essentially is just trying to take over the world in general. The king of the pirates, that title is surrounded around the concept of true freedom and embracing all of freedom's concepts, livelihoods, and, premises. So, the king of the pirates title embraces freedom, and freedom for all, freedom for one, freedom for everyone, but freedom in general, like real living freedom. And then Blackbeard, his dream, or king of the pirates, you know what? I don't even know if we have Blackbeard. Well, we know one of Blackbeard's dream was to start a pirate country. When he told Kobe, "Hey, don't crap on people's dreams like that. It's not cool," which I agree with him on. But Blackbeard in general, what is his dream, man? Because you could easily say he's trying to take over the world, but also Blackbeard wants the world to turn to darkness. And you gotta wonder, man. With Emu ripping up Blackbeard's photo, because we essentially find out that Rocks is Blackbeard's father. So given that Blackbeard's father has history with Emu, we can just naturally assume Emu hates Blackbeard's guts, because it's like, yo, damn, this kid is carrying on the will of the man who snuck in his throne room and said that he'll be back. So this guy is essentially coming for me through the spirit and will of his own damn son. So Emu's got to watch his back, like for Luffy and Blackbeard, but more so for Blackbeard, because I cannot wait to see an interaction with Emu and Blackbeard, man. Think about that. An interaction with Emu and Blackbeard, like, oh, this feels familiar on both sides, you know? So, yeah, man, I mean, I just wanted to release these thoughts, you know, talk about Emu, you know, the Nerona, the grudge against the D family. And also, man, do you think that it could have possibly been a D clan member who was actually behind the perpetual youth surgery that actually extended Emu's life, that gave Emu immortality? And I just want to know, who were the, outside of Emeth, who were the allies of Joy Boy during his fight against Emu? And how did he lose? With Joy Boy's hockey being that good, how is it that he lost? I don't get, how is it that he lost? And we see in Elbaf that Emu has conquered his hockey as well. Yeah, I think Emu, yeah, I believe. Yeah, because during these Elbaf chapters, before we went into the flashback of the God Valley and Herald, and not even God Valley, but we're leading up to God Valley, but before we went into the flashback of Zebek and Herald and how Zebek came to Elbaf, we clearly see Emu in a way using Conqueror's hockey, the color of the Supreme King, to bend the giants not only to his will, but also transform them into demons and whatnot using the Emu's powers. And Emu's abilities, I believe that Emu may have a devil fruit, but his powers extend beyond devil fruits themselves. We see Emu clearly using Conqueror's hockey and demonic spiritual powers as well to turn people and bring them under his will and stuff like that. But also, if Emu does have a devil fruit, what could it be? What would Emu's devil fruit be? Because think about this. Emu, translated in English from Japanese, means sea. You know, the devil of the sea. Devil fruits are like the cursed. You know, the sea is like the enemy of the devil fruits, or a curse of the devil fruits, or something like that, because you can't swim. But do you think that there's a water devil fruit? We've seen every element from magma to wind, dragon, because dragon has an airbending fruit. There's no way you can't tell me that dragon is not an airbender via a devil fruit. So, wind, magma, Akainu, wind, dragon. Yet it'll be confirmed soon. Light, Kizaru, ice, Aokiji, earth, Green Bull. So naturally, if there's a 6-1, water, who controls water in this story, and how would that devil fruit work? The ability to control water. Like, could Emu, I think Emu may have this ability. I'm just saying, what if Emu can control the seas, literally? Emu translated from Japanese to English is sea. So who knows, man? This is just my free thoughts. I'm just wanted to get on here and ramble a little bit, talk to you guys. But we got a lot of ground to cover with Emu. We're not even reaching, I don't think we've even reached a third of what we could possibly know about Emu. There's so much there, man. So much to be discovered, so much to be discussed. And I'm glad we're in these flashback chapters, because the events of God Valley are pivotal, and I want to see what Emu was doing during God Valley. And how did that play out? What was Emu's role? Did Emu have any effect on, did he interfere in God Valley at any point? Outside of deploying the God's Knights, did Emu interfere with God Valley at any point, given that Zebek snuck into the throne room, you know, not throne room, but the flower room, but also he's here on God Valley. Where is he? Like, God Valley, is Mary Joie around, like, or near or close to God Valley? You know, and if it is, why didn't Emu go to God Valley to, like, himself? Emu still could have not been seen, but Emu could have shown up on God Valley. We don't know, but I hope we get some type of interaction about Emu involving God Valley, because we need to see that. We need to see his thoughts on Zebek falling at God Valley. Because was it a case where Zebek was still alive and, like, Emu came and, like, cleaned up the mess or the aftermath or whatever? But also, given the fact, just a quick tangent, Shanks being found on Zebek's ship, could Shanks have been at, like, I said this before, why was Shanks on the Zebek's ship and not Shamrock? Now, obviously, they were separated, you know? They were separated at birth, as this is obviously implied with Shanks being found on Zebek's ship. And, you know, given that his twin brother Shamrock was not around, or if he was around, he was somewhere in like a God's Night nursery or something like that, how did Zebek get a hold of Shanks? And was Zebek gonna raise Shanks as his own? Because like you literally have a baby in a treasure chest, and yet the true treasure of God Valley was Shaki. So what the hell was Zebek doing with Shanks on his ship? I need answers behind that. And I just speculate that Zebek maybe robbed the cradle literally and was like, okay, if y'all are not gonna give it, we're coming back for Shaki, but we're also gonna take something, you know, that's revered as treasure. What if Shanks and Shamrock were both the treasures of God Valley as well? As far as like, not just like Shaki, but as far as like maybe their bloodline, the nobles, you know, that they may have come from. Because I still don't believe Garling is Shanks' father. I believe Garling is Shamrock's father. I explained why in another video, but I don't believe Garling is Shanks' father. A part of me was thinking that maybe Shamrock, no, a part of me was thinking maybe Zebek was Shanks' father, because, you know, like I said, Shamrock said that Shanks was the younger twin brother, but we don't know if that younger implies by minutes or years. Because it could be either or. Shanks could be the younger twin by minutes. Okay, fine. Then Garling is the father. But if Shanks is younger by like a year or two, just a small year or two, you know, and they weren't born at the same time, who would Shanks' father be? Because obviously Shanks and Shamrock share the same mother. But where the hell was she? And did she die giving birth to these boys? Which I think she did. And if not, where was she at on God Valley? On top of that, how did Zebek take Shanks and just put him on his ship? How? Or was it just an accident where a pirate discovered, you know, the treasure chest? Was Shanks in a treasure chest even prior to getting on Zebek's ship? I don't believe so, but who knows, man. But like, these are videos I'm gonna later on make a discussion about. I just wanted to give you guys my free thoughts on Emu regarding his or her situation, the 800-year gap of the 800-year lifespan that Emu has been living on and thriving on, and the perpetual youth surgery and its whereabouts and having to do with Emu's life process, and also the life cycle of a butterfly, man. Starting off from a caterpillar, then forming a cocoon, going through more metamorphosis and rebirthing as a butterfly. That in itself is the essential concept behind Emu's immortality, but the perpetual youth surgery has a lot to do with that as well. So what kind of transformation did Emu undergo to even, outside of the surgery, what kind of transformation did Emu undergo to become the way Emu is? And given that butterflies are always around Emu, that like the reincarnation idea is basically, you know what I'm saying, it's basically plausible within Emu's existence. So yeah, man, that's all I got for now, man. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know your thoughts if you have any. Just tell me what you think. Tell me what you don't think. I don't care. Just let me know. And then this is JD Rich, man. And a piece of life is life in one piece. Peace.